will say he's done something that goes beyond the pale. He will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled strokes, he says he tells no lies and that he never jokes. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. A modern Don Quixote, he hates the windmills, claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. But don't believe that story, it's really just a shill. He just did not want to see them wild golfing on Scottish hills. A hoax, he said it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, changing a storm path with black marker strokes. Confronted with the truth, to say it's all a hoax. Casting mail-in ballots is something that he's done. Now he wants to ban them for each and every one. He claims it's for integrity in each election, but he won't believe the results unless it's him that's won. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, they'll fool you with distractions like real sugar in Cokes. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. He promised to release all the Epstein files that caused all the MAGA base to react with smiles. But how long has he put it off? It sure has been a while, and now he's calling this a hoax, protecting pedophiles. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he'll keep on gaslighting up until he croaks. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax.
Trump piled debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, that screen fell play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Goes through crises, storms and war. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hired his kids to run DC. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, the numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, Fox News would say I made. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Love Kim Jong-un, he wrote love letters that take the guns first, lose those rights forever. Signed you spending bills with glee. Had Joe done that, it'd be tyranny. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they shall not today. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Kept secret files, countless untold. Said Putin's word was good as gold. Invited the Taliban to come to U.S. soil. If Joe had done that, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd want him to pay. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Double standards, loud and clear. Rules for Trump, but not for peers. What they call treason, if Joe's the name, is patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden
This just in. A sudden spike in logic levels across the city. Citizens report seeing a man with glasses and a podcast mic. We go now live to Liberal Dan.
Yo, who you gonna call when Nazi writings on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, cause you know we got a plan. The right wing talking shit, but he ain't about to quit. He'll take his proton pack and zap your logic cause it's whack. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall.
It's being reported that Liberal Dan is setting up what appears to be some sort of straw man containment field.
He's calling out your lies with his mic, he'll vaporize. Cross the streams in your dreams, bitch, you know that he's too wise. You're like Slimer talking crap, but you walked into his trap. Yo, it's more than entertainment, it's misinformation contained. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall. The Statue Liberty, the writing you can see. So bring the huddled masses, it's a war of the classes. While Trump may think he's Vigo, Dan can cut through that ego. He's got the facts to prove him wrong, got that logic like Egon. Your logic is a ghost, cause you know this chick is toast. When you follow MTG, it's conspiracy, you'll see. There's no need to taser, he's got wit like Occam's razor. Liberal Dan cuts those lies with his Jewish-based laser.
It's unbelievable. Liberal Dan just used a literal dog whistle to lure a large group of internet trolls into what is being called a self-collapsing rhetoric singularity. In all my years of reporting, I've never seen anything like this.
So don't call to be a heckler, you ain't no Judge Rexler. He'll bust you like Scolary, cause your logic's looking hairy. Right-wing callers think they're cool, but they sounding just like Zool. You the dog, he the man, and yo, his name is Liberal Dan. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall. Liberal Dan, Liberal Dan, Liberal Dan.
Proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite, Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water, they're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But Liberal Dan will see us flow. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite, Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. Unmasking hypocrisy, the truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. Cause Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite, Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmer, coming to you from New Orleans, Louisiana. Happy New Year to everybody. To support the show, remember to like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the live stream, share other videos, comment on other videos. Basically, help the algorithm because Algor needs more rhythm. And if you want an algorithm shirt, or you want the FDT, or you want the Man of MAGA shirt, which is the Donald Trump with the windmill thing, you can go to the Liberal Dan Radio store, the new store, which is linked to in the show comments sections, both on Twitch and on YouTube. Yeah, you can get that. The store is directly linked to in the pinned link there. Easy for me to say, for the Man of MAGA one, and that's the white one with the black writing. And then if on YouTube, you also have direct links in the show description or in the show page, or when you're watching it underneath, you'll be able to see both all the FDT, the black version with the white writing of the Man of MAGA shirt, and the Al Gore Needs More Rhythm shirt. They find YouTube for some reason was not wanting to show the FDT shirt. It was under review, but apparently it was deemed safe to be able to share on the site. So now we can link to all three of those shirts. So you can also be a Liberal Dan Radio patron, patreon.com/Liberal Dan. You can Venmo Liberal Dan. Liberal Dan on Venmo, buy me a cider over at buymeacoffee.com/Liberal Dan Radio, or go to liberaldan.com, click the buy me a cider button. Orvillaby's over in the Twitch chat. Good to see you, Orvillaby. Over on YouTube, we got a bunch of people running in. Looks like a bunch of J Squads here. We got Steve from across the pond.
If it's no Scottish, it's crap.
We got Alton Gillespie, Jojo Mojo, Jackie, Petrazi, Josh. I think I flew way past a whole bunch of people. Let's see, Jackie, Trucker John's here. Good to see you, Trucker John. Jolie is here, one half of the best mod squad on the planet. Big Hook up from the Great White North. Josh. Yes, we are on tonight. Thursdays is the new night. Mondays, most Wednesdays, not yesterday, and Thursdays. So I won't give any spoilers to the Stranger Things. We won't talk about that if now. We can wait for other days if we want to discuss Stranger Things. But I understand, I'll give people at least a good week to see something, maybe two, before I start discussing spoilers in public settings just like this. So Teresa's in the chat. Good to see you, Teresa. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. Just make sure I don't miss anybody. If I do, I apologize. Volume is too low. Okay, interesting. Let me see. Let me check the sound settings because sometimes the input is screwy. That should improve it now. That should be better. Because my mic audio is all the way maxed in OBS, but it wasn't all the way maxed in whatever. I could also probably eat the mic as well. Maybe put it closer to put it closer to my mouth. Maybe the combination of both will be able to get that louder. Yes, the algorithm shirt because Jojo Mojo, because you got to help the algorithm to help the show do better, to get more people viewing the show, more subscribers, etc. And the internet was created by Al Gore because the internet was created on internet code, and all code is based on an Al Gore rhythm. So that's why I agree with Al Gore inventing the internet. So that's why I created the help the algorithm shirt with the Al Gore Needs More Rhythm. So yes, my son did like the Stranger Things finale. He did enjoy it. And then I managed to make it to where Cassie and my oldest was at with 15 minutes to spare. So I was able to give my wife a smooch for New Year's. So there's that. Oh, I'm thirsty today. So anyway, I don't anticipate having a super long show today. There is some stuff to talk about, clearly, but poor Al. He's super ethereal, to quote South Park. Let's get some of these stuff closed that I don't need anymore. Okay, so one thing I saw, I did see, and I didn't really pay much attention, I guess, to the Smokey the Bear commercials, because I just watched one earlier today, and Smokey the Bear now says instead of only you can prevent forest fires, Smokey the Bear says only you can prevent wildfires. And okay, cool, makes sense. Not all fires that are threatening to human property and human life, especially, more importantly, not all fires happen in a forest or start in a forest, and as such, maybe it's better to call it wildfires instead of forest fires. But since, Smokey the Bear is operated by the U.S. Forest Service, and that's a government entity, a federal government entity, I'm sitting there and waiting, when will Donald Trump hear it saying only you can prevent wildflowers and be like, why is the Forest Department of U.S. Forests, why are they being woke and talking about more than forest fires? Why are they talking about wildfires? When people were younger, we heard only you can prevent forest fires, and I'm going to direct that they go back to only you can protect forest fires because this is part of the woke firefighting agenda. We need more wildfires, not less, because the fires under me are the best fires you've ever seen. Nobody's seen better fires. So I'm just waiting for that to happen, for Donald Trump to be all flipped out, or even just MAGA folks in general to be all pissed off over, why are they doing forest fire? Why aren't they at forest fires now? Why are they doing wildfires? Boo-hoo-hoo. So, yeah, I can only imagine that would be the next thing coming out of their crazy-ass mouths. So, let's see. Also, there's a U.S. Trucker John. Why aren't they raking the forests? They need more rakes. Make America rake again. Mara. I dated a girl once named Mara. That's why I named it Mar-a-Lago. I literally just came up with that one on the fly. Whether or not you think it's good or not, it's up to you, but I'm rather proud of it. Anyway, so Jojo, I wonder how things would have actually been in America in the last 50 years if we didn't have GOP president. We probably have the common cold cure by now and said we got nothing but more measles. Probably. You're probably right. Anyway, so... and I saw the other day, I hadn't realized that this was coming or this already took place, but it's something that everybody should realize, I guess, before tax season starts, and that is the change in how the USPS will put their postmarks on the mail. So apparently how it used to happen is if you put it in the mail slot on a particular day, then they would absolutely grab it and then stamp it as being mailed that day. Even if they didn't process it immediately, I guess they would mark the bags or something and say, hey, these bags were from this day, so make sure this postmark is on it. They are now changing the rules on that, and they're now saying that if you put your mail in the mailbox, and then however time it takes to process it, the processing date is going to be the date that goes on your mail and not the date that it went in the box. So if it's very important for you to have something postmarked, like let's say you're filing your taxes via the mail, or you have rent that you have to pay, or a mortgage that you're paying and you're paying it via the mail. Who does that nowadays? I don't know, but I'm guessing there are plenty of people who might still do that. Maybe more of the poorer people. If you're impoverished and you're, working class person, maybe, you rely on that versus electronic funding. I don't know. Again, we might be struggling financially, but we're still doing everything electronically, so I don't know. Maybe some boomers out there, maybe some of the older folks who aren't comfortable with electronic payments might still mail those checks. I guess that's probably another guess that we would talk about. But anyway, my point is that, I don't necessarily understand the idea of anybody who needed a postmark by that particular day. If you need a postmark for tax purposes, even if you're early, I would have never just dropped it in a mailbox. I would have absolutely have gone inside to get the stamp by the person there. Because if you bring it into the desk, they will stamp it for you on that date, and then you know that it's mailed on that date. So why play chances with letters going in the box when you know you could sit there and see the person physically putting a stamp for that particular day? So while I don't necessarily understand the concept of why this might affect people who need it, and maybe I'm just not visioning people who wouldn't be able to go in and who instead need to use the mailbox. But if you're somebody who needs to use the mailbox instead of going in, maybe somebody with a disability, I don't know, and if they can't potentially get somebody else to drop it off and bring it into the office for them, perhaps that would be somebody who would utilize those boxes. But it just, to me, it's like, it doesn't seem like it's that huge of a change, just from my experience of how I would use the post office. It doesn't affect how I would operate and use the post office. I would still go in and get postage stamps and get the stamp or the time that I mailed it on the letter. But my other question, though, is why make the change in the first place? I'm sure they would probably argue it takes less time, it makes it more efficient, blah, blah, blah. They might make some excuses as to why they're claiming they're doing it. But this administration is so deceitful. This administration is so, harmful. This administration has always such nefarious goals, lurking in the back. It makes me wonder, why this? Why now? Why is this the important thing to do? Why was this an important policy change to make? It doesn't make any sense to how much little effort it might take to mark a bag as being collected on this particular date, and as such you put that postmark for these particular mail items. I don't know, but still, I still have to wonder what the big deal is and why they wanted to make this change. And if anybody else knows, if anybody has heard, this is the nefarious purpose, this is what they're trying to stop, please tell me. Because I can't think of it off the top of my head. Teresa, Trump seems to hate anything that's good. That may very well be it, right? Just that he doesn't like, things that are good are helpful or whatever. Did I watch the Jack Smith hearing? I did not watch it, but I did get one piece that we're going to talk about on it, and maybe we'll go over it more on Monday when I have more time to actually watch it, or maybe we'll react to it as well. Let's see, JoJo, I've already talked about that one. No Reagan, no Bushes, exactly. Big Hokos, watched about 2 hours of the Jack Smith hearings, waiting for the Allison Gill summary and highlight reel perhaps later tonight. Maybe, let's see. Why is Trump's stupid effing face on our national park passes with George Washington? They're supposed to be the winning nature shot from the contest. I hate this timeline. Of course it's Trump's picture because, he's a narcissist. Trump had actually been put in jail with his PDF friends, but it will hurt if the files are released. Let's see. We always cleaned up combustible floor from the tree farm I grew up on. Trump would have been in jail before 1994, probably. That would be interesting. Let's see. To Total Tubs are fired. Jolie says, Jojo Mojo, I'm super pissed about him putting a stupid face and name everywhere. I'm so glad everyone is canceling at the Kennedy Center. FDJT. Yes. Well, that's why I need to buy the FDT to show that you hate Donald Trump. FDT. Petraza mail-in ballots. But a lot of times but still, if it's a mail-in, if I have a mail-in ballot, Petrazi, and I'm gonna want to make sure that it's marked by the specific postmark time, then I'm going to go in and take it into the office and take it into the person and have somebody physically stamp it. Now, sometimes state laws require it to be received by a particular date and not just it be postmarked by a particular date in order for it to be counted. And that's something that happened during the the 2020 elections, was when the USPS was slowing down the mailing out of the mail in all of the areas that were contested, like, in Georgia and other places, to make sure that these absentee ballots that were being sent in via the mail would be late and as such wouldn't be counted. So that's some BS right there as well. But still, again, you can combat that by simply going in and getting it stamped instead of dumping it in a box. That's the thing where I'm just like, everybody just needs to remember that with these changes that are taking place, you can always still go in and get it stamped, at least now. Maybe at some point later, they'll make the change that they can't do it in the office, or maybe they'll just take away live people and instead want everything automated, and then it'll be happening when it's processed, and then that would really totally screw over people who are using the mail-in for mail-in ballots or whatever. But you could still then always drop off a mail-in ballot or absentee ballot, I think, at your local registrar, depending on the state. So see, Big Hope, remember before how the Postmaster General DeJoy removed mailboxes and destroyed postal sorting machines to slow down hurting senior citizens to get medicine via the mail, all while privatizing them? Yep, pretty much. What's up, Hoosier Scott? Good to see you. Congratulations to the Hoosiers, Rose Bowl champions. Mazel tov. Let's see. Can I do this yet or no? I can. Here we go. We are going to be giving away new memberships for the first 5 people of this month, including Human F. Being, Anarchist for Equality, William 19143, Jesse, and Pam all received memberships. Maybe we'll do the next 5 in a couple of weeks, but we want to start off with 5 more gifted Liberal Dan Radio memberships. So thank you all for being members, everybody. If you're here and you got it, mazel tov. If not, well, hopefully they'll swing back around. Anyway. You'd think they'd go to the people in the chat instead of going to the people out, you think they'd go into the chat first instead of just the entirety of the subscribers. But, as old Donnie Boy says, it is what it is. Thank you, Donald. I'm already out of water. It shows you how thirsty I was today. Where's this next article? So everybody's aware at this point of the allegations that are being made against child care facilities in Minnesota as it pertains to the defrauding of individuals. And Vance and some other people retweeted the MAGA-linked or MAGA-biased individual who reported. Now, of course, his MAGA bias isn't necessarily relevant if the information he presented turns out to be correct. I'm not going to begrudge anybody just because they're MAGA if they, give us good information. But the question is the information being given correct? And the first question I immediately had was, how do we know that this individual approached these daycares on the days in which they were open and during the hours in which they were open? One of the other questions that he brought up was, why couldn't I open the door? Why isn't there a reception that takes place? And I'm like, look, I dated somebody before my current relationship, before my marriage. One of the people that I dated for a long-term relationship worked at a daycare for a very long time, and they locked the front door. There was no reception area for the daycare. There was nothing with this daycare that, allowed just free access for anybody to come in. You either had to have an appointment to come in, or you had to be a known parent to be able to be let in, because they're not going to let in some random Joe Schmo off the street to interview people and take pictures of when other people's children are around. So it makes absolute sense that a door might be locked and they wouldn't let you in for, just for being a random person who has questions to ask. You want to call them up and you want to interview them? Fine. You want to set up a time to interview them? Fine, do that. But you can't necessarily say, oh, the door was locked and therefore there were no kids, because that's an illogical assumption based on, and actually if you watch the CNN video where they're interviewing him for a little bit, he actually admits that he didn't know that, and then he has to backtrack and change his argument a bit. So that's one of the reasons why you need to question everything that you see as it pertains to, what news they're trying to present. You have to do that with everybody. Even nowadays, you have to do it with some of the, larger people, even on the left, who report data incorrectly. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But because he's MAGA, I automatically have a little bit of distrust for him. And that's why I'm going to say, you know, okay, well, let's give him some question. But a lot of these people are like, why are you attacking the investigator and not the investigated? Well, it's not that we're attacking the investigator. We just want to verify the veracity of his claims to make sure that he's actually saying things that are correct and not trying to, you know, do some sort of racist, bigoted smear against Somali-owned businesses. Now, why is this important? On December 30th, 2025, President Donald Trump's administration announced on Tuesday that it is freezing child care funds to Minnesota and demanding an audit of some daycare centers after a series of fraud schemes involving government programs in recent years. Of course, one of those fraud schemes was not run or masterminded by anybody who was Somali. It was a white woman. Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Services Jim O'Neill said on the social platform X that the move is in response to blatant fraud that appears to be rampant in Minnesota and across the country. Well, but why are you cutting off all child care funds for some people committing fraud? This is just the way that MAGA and conservatism operate. They see a problem that could be fixed with a scalpel or tweezers and instead just decide to take a gigantic mallet and smash it on the head. You know, they want to cut everything. It's like, again, we talked about this earlier. Measure twice before you cut. Well, they're going to cut everything. So they're going to hurt all children getting federal daycare funds in the state of Minnesota because some people are committing fraud. It almost makes you want to think and be a conspiracy theorist and say, oh, maybe the MAGA folks wanted him to create this ruckus so that Trump could start justifying the shutdown of these funds going to one state, and then, oh, now this is all rampant across the country. Now we're going to shut down child care funds across the entire country, harming children across the country based on a few people potentially committing fraud. Tim Walz punched back. The governor, again, punched back, saying fraudsters are a serious issue the state has spent years cracking down on, but the move is just part of Trump's law game. He is politicizing the issue to defund programs that help Minnesotans. I would say he's politicizing the issue to defund programs that help everybody, not just Minnesotans. O'Neill referenced a right-wing influencer who posted a video on Friday claiming he found that daycare centers operated by Somali residents in Minneapolis had committed up to $100 million in fraud. O'Neill said he demanded Walt submit an audit of these centers, so that includes attendance records, licenses, complaints, investigations, and inspections. And look, if there is actual fraud going on, the people committing the fraud should be punished. And, you know, if this person actually uncovered fraud, good for him. I just question, you know, the fact that, you know, why is it Somali? Why is the Somali part relevant? Why is it relevant that they're from Somali background? Because, again, the vast majority of people who are Somalian in Minnesota have not participated at all in this sort of crime. So as that makes me think that the only reason that they're bringing up the fact that they're Somali is a bigoted and racist and xenophobic one. It's just the whole, like, the argument with, you know, saying Jews are to blame because of the actions of Netanyahu. Well, that's anti-Semitic. Somalis are to blame for the actions of certain people who happen to be Somali who are committing fraud. That's bigoted. And if you don't understand why that's bigoted, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you, but it's absolutely bigoted. Because there's been years of investigations that included a $300 million pandemic food fraud scheme involving the nonprofit Feeding Our Future, and that was the one that was led by the white woman. I think there were Somali folks who were involved in it, but it was masterminded by a white woman. Federal prosecutor alleged earlier this month that half or more of the roughly $18 billion in federal funds that supported 14 programs in Minnesota may have been stolen, may have been, not did, not were, but may have been. And again, if they were stolen, you should absolutely punish the people who stole the funds. It doesn't mean that you shut down all the funds. Go after the people who are guilty. Don't punish the people who are innocent because of the people who are guilty. Right? I mean, this shouldn't be that hard to figure out, but apparently this administration can't quite yet figure that out. Or, you know, they don't want to figure that out because their idea here is just to be bigoted and racist and xenophobic and to push Trump's bigoted, racist, and xenophobia so that he could start sending Somali people to CCOT as well as, you know, other people who are not El Salvadorian or who don't have no business being there, which includes anybody from this country because it's not our prison. Hey, Rick, good to see you. Thank you for joining the show. Hey, MJ Daniel. The chaos benefits the oligarchs behind the GOP and groups like Heritage. Funny you should mention Heritage. We'll get to them in a second. Aquatic Chad says, if MAGA really is what and who you think they are, zero of this should actually be surprising, then you should already know the exact reason, right? Race and hate. Well, you know, look, there is plenty of evidence to show that there are a vast amount of people who support Trump who are racist and xenophobic, because Donald Trump absolutely pushes racism and xenophobia and bigotry and other general hatred. So, and you know, there are people who continue to support him regardless of that. And if you want to say you're not racist, then fine. But that to me says the racism, bigotry, and xenophobia that Donald Trump perpetuated was not enough to have you say, all right, you know, you put the money ahead of that. And we discussed that on the last show, I believe. Hey, Karen, good to see you. It doesn't bother me that you're late as long as you're here and on time. You're helping the algorithm. Thank you for being here. Hey, Vanessa, good to see you. That's going to be the MAGA talking point this year, probably. And they're going to try, again, watch the push harder. I mean, Trump has already said that he doesn't want people from Somalia coming here. He already said that he wants to kick everybody from Somalia out who are in this country, and didn't say non-citizens. So those are probably some of the people who he's going to try and denaturalize, are the people who are probably from, you know, Somalia and other people who he wished to denaturalize. So, Jojo says, lots of love, y'all. Gotta go. This pneumonia sucks. I'm sorry, man. Hope you feel better. I did take on the 30th, one of the things I did do yesterday to make sure we got it done before the end of the year to protect Cassie is me and both kids got both of our flu and COVID shots, so to make sure that we are up to date. Oh no, I took the jab. You know, oh, that's child abuse to take the jab, right? You know, stupid anti-vax idiots. Heritage has crossed the line. It's gone from fringe to fascism. And it's funny because I'm about to cite Heritage in a second to prove a point. But yes, Heritage sucks generally, but one of their sites that they have is, you know, pretty interesting. Let's talk about now, I guess. All right, so before I started this show, I was spending a few minutes listening to the Ojeda or Jada podcast or whatever. I was sitting there watching it, and one of the things he was talking about was the Tina Peters case in Colorado. And according to Ojeda, and he shared something from Brian Tyler Cohen that said that Tina Peters had committed voter fraud. Now, to me, voter fraud is a very specific thing. Voter fraud is something where you're actually doing something involving, voter registration to somebody who's not eligible to be registered to be a voter. Voter fraud is something like, casting a ballot for somebody who wasn't, supposed to cast a ballot, or using somebody's voter information to make a fake ID and then vote in their name instead. That's voter fraud. Or sending in an absentee mail-in ballot for somebody who is dead, or somebody who is sick and can't do it for themselves, and you're doing it for them, especially if they're dead. That's in a fraudulent way, and not helping them vote, instead voting for them. Again, that's bad, that's wrong, it should not be done. But those are examples of voter fraud. That's not what Tina Peters did. What Tina Peters did, which was terrible, former Mesa County clerk, and this, I'm getting this from the election fraud page on Heritage's own site. She was charged by Mesa County with 9 felonies and 5 misdemeanors for her role in an election security breach in 2021. Peters worked with Belinda Kinsley, or Nisley, to allow unauthorized personnel access to the Mesa County election system, including providing an individual who was never hired by the county with an access badge to the secure election system, including access to things like their social security numbers and everything like that. Peters and Nisley also had the security cameras overlooking the access machines turned off. In August of 2021, images of the Mesa County election management systems and related passwords appeared on the internet. Nisley and Peters then refused to comply with subpoenas and directives from the Secretary of State when it was investigated. As a result, Peters was charged with multiple counts of attempt to influence a public servant, conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation, identity theft, official misconduct, violation of duty, and failure to comply with requirements of Secretary of State. Following a jury trial, she was convicted of 4 felonies and 3 misdemeanors and acquitted of 3 remaining charges. He was sentenced to 9 years, 8.5 in prison and 6 months in jail, and fined $14,992.50. So, here's the thing. The MAGA folks recently, as I've been hearing on shows like Jeff Carrera's Ringside Politics, they're not liking the Heritage Foundation, which is shockingly funny. Like, they're critical of the Heritage Foundation specifically for this election fraud information because they don't like that the information collected by the Heritage Foundation, when you go look at it, you will see that the claims that are being made by the Republicans about voter fraud are false, because they keep track of all of the cases. And what they also don't like is they correctly and accurately share the information about things like this Tina Peters case, which Donald Trump wants to pardon her, but he can't pardon her because he's the president and these are state charges. These are state crimes, so he can't pardon her of these crimes. And he's not going to get the Democratic governor of Colorado to pardon her for these crimes. So she's going to stay in prison because she committed acts of fraud. But she was trying to get information to overturn the 2020 election, and that's why Donald Trump loves her. That's why the MAGA folks love her. But at the end of the day, she committed a crime. She violated the law. And, you know, I think some of the conservatives are saying that she's like suffering from cancer and that she is on her last leg and she doesn't have months left to live and she's not going to last all 8.5 years in prison, that she is going to die relatively soon. And look, if that's the case, I would have no problem with saying, okay, fine, you can have house arrest. But don't lift the sentence. Require her to be on house arrest if you want to be nice to her family. But if you're going to do that, you got to make sure that you're also going to do that for everybody else who commits these types of crimes or less, serious crimes, who are sitting in prison, who are on death's door, whose family wants to see them too. So if you're going to do it for a non-violent criminal like Tina Peters, who is still a convicted felon, you also need to do it for other non-violent felons who are also on death's door. Because if you don't do one without doing the other, then you're showing your bias. So, but that one of the points I want to make though is that Ojeda and Brian Tyler Cohen, both of them are reporting this as voter fraud when it's not voter fraud, it's more election fraud. And this is why the Democrats, this is why the left have problems, because we will sometimes, look, I'm not saying that you can't be emotional, you can't show emotions. Like we were having this discussion last week with what's-his-face, that guy who, was all worried about how, tattoos work when you're trying to determine whether or not somebody is a suspect or not, or somebody who should be looked into for deportation or whatever. Like he was trying to say that, oh, you're too busy with emotions. You can absolutely have emotion when dealing with these subjects. I would argue that if you're not getting emotional over seeing people like locked up in concentration camps who shouldn't be in concentration camps, which is pretty much anybody, nobody should be in a concentration camp, period. Concentration camps shouldn't exist, and we shouldn't be sending millions of our taxpayer dollars to house people in a concentration camp. And you should be very upset that we're sending money to a government that has a concentration camp so that we can have our people who Trump wants to deport put into that concentration camp. So you can be emotional about it, but we can't let the emotions cause us to report the things incorrectly, because when that happens, when we do that, the problem is that then the conservatives can latch on to what we said that was incorrect and attack that instead of having to defend their terrible actions. And that does and it's a double standard, because when conservatives do something wrong and we point it out, they're like, oh, well, they don't care because they'll still double down on being wrong. Watch any conservative MAGA folk, getting interviewed by like the Daily Show or whatever. Watch the politicians who are being interviewed by the news media or whatever, and they will absolutely, when told that they're wrong, they will pivot to something else and never have to deal with it. And most people in the media don't get that right and don't push back on them and require them to answer that question. Some will, to their credit, they will, but a lot of other people won't. They'll just accept the lies that are being told to them and move on and allow the pivot to happen. But unfortunately, when it comes to people on the left, when we report something, we have to be 100% correct, or else they'll attack what we get wrong instead of dealing with what we got right. So I'm just stressing that, maybe the Ojeda folks, the Brian Tyler Cohen type folks, maybe these people need to make sure and be a little more careful to report things accurately to make sure that the other side can't come at us for inaccuracies. Because it happened here in Louisiana. It happened here in Louisiana when Bobby Jindal was running for governor, and he wrote a paper that, was talking about how Catholicism, under Catholicism or in general anybody, that only the Catholic Church can be trusted to understand and interpret what the Bible says. Basically, something that would normally piss off conservative evangelicals who might be like, what the hell is this guy? Why is he saying these things that we can't be trusted to understand our own Bible? But instead of reporting what Bobby Jindal said correctly, the Louisiana Democratic Party made an ad that incorrectly attributed what he said in his paper, and when they did that allowed Bobby Jindal to go back on the air and make an ad in rebuttal to the horrible Democratic Party ad to say, I did not say these things. And then he went on to say, I'm a born-again Christian, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're not a born-again Christian. Born-again Christianity is something that evangelicals have, but the Democratic Party couldn't then push back against them because they've already lost the trust of the people. Not that they had a lot of trust to begin with, because it's Louisiana, it's the Democratic Party, but any trust, any credibility that they had on this issue went away when they reported Bobby Jindal's words incorrectly, which allowed him to not only continue his bad statements, it allowed him to make an additional lie that then went unchallenged by the party, because the party knew that they had egg on their face, because the media was basically saying, yep, they absolutely made this ad incorrectly, but they never challenged Bobby Jindal on him calling himself a so-called born-again Christian, when that's not something typically Catholics call themselves. So again, we need to make sure, and I've seen it happen multiple other times as well, where instead of getting it right, the Trump thing. Here's another example where people got the issue wrong so that individuals could harp on the incorrectness instead of harping on the actual problem of the issue. Let's talk about Donald Trump's statement about there being good people on both sides of the Charlottesville riot or the Charlottesville rally or whatever, when, the woman was killed or whatever, and there were Nazis protesting there. Donald Trump says there are good people on both sides. And then what did a lot of people who are on the left do? What did a lot of people on the left, the liberal-leaning media do? They argued that Donald Trump said that Nazis were good people. Donald Trump did not say that Nazis were good people. Donald Trump said that there were good people on both sides. The comment from Donald Trump is still problematic, not because he's saying that Nazis are good, but the problem from Donald Trump was still problematic because he was saying that there had good people on both sides. And if you're knowingly marching alongside people who are shouting blood and soil and the Jews will not replace us, you're not a good person. So my argument is he's saying there are good people on both sides. Nobody is a good person if you're marching alongside known Nazis. You take the opportunity to separate yourself from those Nazis. You tell those Nazis that they're not welcome in your rally, in your march, etc. You have the responsibility to either remove the Nazis from your protest or to remove yourself from a protest that has a lot of Nazis in them. But you're not doing that. They didn't do that. So that's what tells me that there are no good people on the right-hand side of the Charlottesville protests. Not because all of them were Nazis, but because some were Nazis and the rest had no problem marching alongside Nazis. Of course, the joke is, what do you call 10 people having dinner at a table with a known Nazi? 11 Nazis. But still, I would not go ahead and say that everybody's a Nazi, but I would say that there is no moral difference between somebody being a Nazi and somebody who has no problem hanging out with a Nazi, because their Nazism isn't too much for them to want to disassociate themselves from the relationship. So that's one of many examples of where the media or people on the left have gotten something wrong. Like, another thing, I can see Russia from my house was not literally words that were said by Sarah Palin. They were said by Tina Fey, who is doing an impression of Sarah Palin and trying to basically over-accentuate her stupidity by when Sarah Palin did intimate that when she had, you know, some international bona fides or whatever for being the vice presidential pick of John McCain because of her proximity to Russia as governor of Alaska. Not that she could see Russia from her house, but again, when the Democrats would say attribute that comment to Sarah Palin instead of attributing it to Tina Fey, the conservatives would then be enabled to say, well, Sarah Palin never said that, you're attacking her for something she didn't say, instead of them focusing on the actual comments that Sarah Palin made, which were nonsensical and made no sense as to why she was at all qualified to be vice president of these United States. So we could probably do an entire show. I know Big Hook likes to say that I have an eidetic memory and that I can pull a lot of things from memory. And a lot of these things, as I was talking about one, the next one did come up. So there's that. However, I don't remember every single one of them off the top of my head in this case. I know there are more. There are definitely more. But the bottom line is this, is that we need to make sure that we're reporting the news correctly. We need to make sure that we say what is going on accurately, because when we don't do that, it enables MAGA, it enables conservatives, it enables the right to attack our imperfections, our incorrectness, instead of attacking our, instead of having to defend their bad behavior. So, oh, Leanna Geyer's here. Good to see you, Leanna. Leanna goes, hello, Dilbert Dan. Have been a lot of trouble getting your broadcast. Good to see you and everybody else. Wondering why you were having problems getting the podcast. Let's see. Let's scroll on back. Missed a couple of things here. So he's a con artist. He went to Ukraine and said he didn't see fighting either. And then he went to CCOT saying it was a cool jail facility. It was because it was very strong, Big Hook. He said it was very cool. It was a very strong facility. That's what he liked. He liked that it was strong. Let's see. Big Hook says sue him for false accusations and defamation. Jojo Mojo, the daycare in Huntington, West Virginia, have 12-foot steel fencing with playground with plastic coverings on it with barbed wire on the top. God damn. Is it a prison? MJ Daniel, one reason the same one behind every MAGA thing that they do. Exactly. Scroll on down. I had missed those for some reason. I don't know. Happy New Year, Vanessa. Chad says, I think our economy is going to start taking off this year once the lower gas prices start to trickle to the rest of the economy. I think we may feel some relief. If not, congrats to Dems in the midterms. I really don't see how that's going to happen, because he's causing problems and then trying to fix the problems with Band-Aids. Like he's making gaping wounds and then fixing them with Band-Aids. That's the problem. MJ Daniel says, I may not be a bigot, but I am fine with the president being one. Yep, pretty much. That is what happened. And Big Hook also says, any and every distraction from the Epstein files, Trump is the master distractor when it comes to covering up his own crimes. Exactly. He's a master distractor, but not a master debater. Let's see. Didn't she kick the cop when he was trying to arrest her? I think she said something like, you can't arrest me, entitled bitch. Probably did something like that. Karen A., she deserves to be in prison. I mean, I agree. They got their britches soiled. None of us will get a break. That's true. But I tend to be a bleeding heart individual. Sometimes. It's just quite amusing in a way, and still in service of an attempted coup. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was in service to an attempted coup. However, it still wasn't voter fraud, and that's what they'll pick up on, and that's what they'll harp on. Guaranteed. Texas Paul said the housing market's starting to crash as well. Peter Thiel is warning others to sell because tough times are coming. We shall see. Karen Ames, I have to hurry this month and sell my parents' house. I wish we could do that too. That doesn't seem like it's going to happen. People are defaulting on mortgages and car loans. I do know somebody who took out a title loan on their vehicle and they just turned in the car because they couldn't pay it anymore. I know people who have defaulted on their rent and got evicted. I know people who are having all sorts of problems. So I can't imagine that as we've entered this year, I can't imagine it's going to be going up any, because we're not at the point where there's nowhere a place to go but up. We still have plenty of places to go down.
Oh my.
Anyway, let's see. Leanna Guy said, oh, got in trouble for a comment I made on Patel. Ooh. Oh no. What did you say about Patel? Or can you not say it, or else you'll get in trouble here as well. I call him Crash Patel. Hilarious. See, I'm just on hold with my knee surgery till I get clearance from neurology. Well, good luck with that. Hope you have as good of a knee surgeon as I did. Jan, I'm a bleeding heart for truth and justice. Mindless cruelty, blatant attempts to silence critics, wanted destruction of much of our government, open racism, misogyny. But yep, that is this administration to a T. Lots of younger people going to have to move back in with their parents, I bet. Oh, I bet. Absolutely. And they're not going to like that. So what else did we have to pull up that I wanted to talk about? Oh, there's Donald Trump's first 2 vetoes of this term. President Trump used his veto power this week for the first time since returning to the White House, rejecting a pair of bipartisan bills, which is shocking. These were 2 bills that were passed with voice votes, aka unanimous consent. One of the bills, the Mikosuke Reserved Area Amendments Act, or MRAA, M-R-A-A-A, wasn't very cleverly named, would have added a small village called the Osceola Camp to a section of the Florida Everglades that the Mikosuke Native American tribe has control over. It would also require the Department of the Interior to take action to protect structures in the village from flooding. The bill was backed by Senators Rick Scott and Ashley Moody, and also by GOP Representative Carlos Jimenez and Democratic Representative Darren Soto. Shortly before it passed the House in July, Jimenez said the bill was about fairness and conservation. It ensures the Mikosuke tribe has the autonomy to protect their homes, land, and way of life. But the message to Congress on Tuesday, Trump said the project benefits, quote, special interests, and accused the tribe of not cooperating with immigration policies. Of course he's going to do that, because he's a piece of shit. He wrote that despite seeking funding and special treatment from the federal government, the Mikosuke tribe has actively sought to obstruct reasonable immigration policies that the American people decisively voted for when I elected. No, a lot of people are saying that this is not what they voted for. I guarantee you a majority of Americans disagree with your immigration policies, because there are definitely Republicans, even MAGA folks, who have said that. Even Joe Rogan has been out there saying that his immigration policies are not what were promised. So, yeah, what you ran on was going after the worst of the worst, the bad hombres. You did not give that. You did not follow through on that. You are going after the low-hanging fruit and people who shouldn't even be gone after all. So, or whatever. Earlier this year, the tribe joined a lawsuit challenging an immigration detention center in the Everglades. The state and federal officials referred to as Alligator Alcatraz. The tribe has argued that the facility could hurt the surrounding environment, impacting the tribe's ability to hunt and hold ceremonies on the land. The president also argued that the Osceola camp was originally created without authorization, writing it's not the federal government's responsibility to pay to fix problems in an area that the tribe has never was authorized to occupy. This is America, isn't it? The tribe said in a statement it was disappointed by the veto, arguing the bill was not about special treatment, but about public safety, environmental stewardship, and honoring long-recognized tribal interests. We have never sought to obstruct the president's immigration agenda. Instead, we have taken action to ensure sufficient environmental due diligence is performed to protect federal restoration investments. Trump's veto appears to be revenge for the Mikosuke tribe's valid opposition to the atrocious Alligator Alcatraz. It said It's sad, petty, and a violation of tribal sovereignty. And of course, Trump also vetoed the Colorado water bill. The other piece of legislation that faced a presidential veto was the Arkansas Valley Conduit Act, FAVCA. At least that makes a word. I don't know what kind of word it makes, but it's FAVCA. That bill was aimed at completing a long-planned water pipeline that could serve some 50,000 people in southeastern Colorado. The pipeline was first proposed during President John F. Kennedy's administration, part of the series of water projects in Colorado, but it was never built, in part because federal law required local communities to pay for it. According to the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, a 2009 law changed the funding breakdown and allowed local governments to pick up only 35% of the tab. The bill that was passed this year would have reduced those local entities' interest payments and given them more time to repay the cost. Mr. Trump said he vetoed the bill as part of a broader push to cut taxpayer handouts. We don't want to make sure that people can get clean water, huh? He pointed to the pipeline's expected price tags. The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation estimated in 2023 it would cost $1.4 billion, double the projected price 7 years earlier. Who was president, that much earlier, and then why would inflation have gone up so much? I wonder. The president argued that legislation would continue the failed policies of the past by forcing taxpayers to bear more of the cost of a local water project. Bill was backed by state's 2 Democratic senators and by Republican reps Lauren Boebert and Jeff Hurd, whose districts include areas that would be served by the pipeline. Boebert told CBS News in a statement the veto was very disappointing. This fight is not over. Boebert castigated the veto in a separate statement to local reporter Kylie Clark, calling the bill completely non-controversial and saying she hopes Mr. Trump's veto has nothing to do with political retaliation. I must have missed the rally where he stood in Colorado and promised to personally derail critical water infrastructure projects. Boebert wrote, "My bad. I thought the campaign was about lowering costs and cutting red tape." Hurd said in a statement he was deeply disappointed by the veto. The vetoed legislation did not authorize new construction spending or expand the federal government's original commitment. It adjusted repayment terms to reflect decades of federal delay, rising construction costs, and changing regulatory requirements, factors largely outside local control. So existing federal investments could actually result in completed infrastructure and clean drinking water. Democratic Senators John Hickenlooper also strongly criticized the president, writing on X, on Twitter, Donald Trump is playing partisan games and punishing Colorado, making rural communities suffer without clean drinking water. Fellow Democratic Senator Michael Bennet accused the president of seeking revenge in a joint statement with Hickenlooper. The senator argued Mr. Trump was putting personal and political grievances ahead of Americans. Boebert drew attention earlier this year by breaking with Trump and signing a petition to force the House vote to release the files on Epstein. The bill passed by nearly unanimous margins after Mr. Trump endorsed it. Mr. Trump also lashed out at Colorado officials over the case of Tina Peters. 2 stories related to each other now. A former GOP county election official who was convicted and sentenced to a multi-year prison sentence for tampering with voting machines. He said in August he would take harsh measures if she wasn't released from custody. Of course he would. So he's basically defending, her, instead of actually worrying about people getting, information that's or help that's correct and needed for their communities. So yeah, there you go. Let's see. Oh my God, Leanna Geyer, thank you so much. Wow, $99.99 for your super chat. That is a absolutely super amazing chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Chad, you got competition for top contributor at this point. So thank you, Leanna, for that. That is an amazing, amazing contribution. Thank you for the show. Thank you for that. I appreciate you a lot for that. Again, you don't have to donate, contribute, do $99.99 super chats to support the show. Just comment a lot. Make up the difference. If you can't give a $99 super chat, make up the difference by helping the algorithm out. Because again, Al Gore needs more rhythm. Let's see. Knee surgery is orthoscopic for torn meniscus. Nice. Yours is probably less serious than mine would be, though. Karen says, my daughter now lives with us again. Jolie, I'm trying to get my oldest and her boyfriend to move home. My youngest and her boyfriend are already here. It would be like a dream come true for me. All my babies home. I mean, there's a positive, I guess. In a bad economy, you get to be closer to your family. There you go. See, I have HealthNet Senior Dual with Medicare and Medicaid. Interesting, cool. Trucker John. Leanne, have you ever heard of the Trucker John live stream? Hey, John, you're already at 3,000 subs, though, so you have more subs than I do, and you have more viewers than I do typically. So you might be making more money overall with me when it comes to your overall viewership and the ads revenue. I just happen to get lucky every now and then with a couple of big lumps of super chats. But you're hilarious, Trucker John. It's one of the reasons why Trucker John's one of the best on the internet, and you should go subscribe to his channel if you haven't already done so. To DPD, do you see what happens when you allow a toddler to go with unchecked power? What could possibly go wrong? How are we supposed to get anything done if he continues to veto everything? Well, I mean, those two things that were vetoed were passed with unanimous consent with a voice vote. So I'm imagining that it's possible that the vetoes might be overridden, which would make me laugh. I would have lots of popcorn watching a vote, watching those two bills get overridden, and hopefully they do get overridden. We'll see. We'll see if that happens. I would love to see that to happen. It would be great for Donald Trump. But then again, even if it does happen, what happens then? So let's say they override the veto on the funding of the project for the southeast area of Colorado. What happens then if they don't want to provide the funds? And then you're going to have to sue, and then it's going to have to go through the courts, because Donald Trump doesn't believe he has to listen to any of the other branches of government that are co-equal anyway. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if Donald Trump continues to ignore both the separation of powers that exist and the powers that do exist of each branch to basically help offset the powers of the other one. Because who's going to punish him for it? Will the DOJ go after him for violating laws? No, they're not going to do it, because the DOJ is complicit in allowing Donald Trump to get away with laws. So, Tim goes, come on, Chad, fight, fight, fight. Yeah, I don't have issues with my insurance, just this out of network. This is out of network approved is the worst. Ugh, that's terrible that it has to be out of network. It's interesting though, because I remember because I was on Trulicity for a little bit before I started Zepbound, and then there was a big break between the two, because when I was on Medicaid for a little bit, Medicaid stopped covering Trulicity for people with my condition, and then I had to wait a few months or more than like 8 or 10 months to start going back on Zepbound. So, and I have started losing weight on Zepbound again, which is great. I'm now down 144, I want to say, at this point. I did set a goal to be down. Let's see, what would that total be? 144 to get down to 178. So I want to be down 180 at some point. That was one of my initial goals, was being down 180 by the end of this year. We'll see. See, Karen, besides my knee and the new seizures, I'm dealing with 3 fractures and a pinched nerve in my back. I have special. Jesus Christ, I'm sorry. I mean, you sound almost as bad as what's going on with my wife, who seems to find new illnesses every other week. So I definitely appreciate or can sympathize and empathize with what you're going through, specifically because my wife's been going through lots of different medical issues as well. That's why she was in the hospital for 2 months earlier in the year, last year, I should say now, because it is 2006. Petrazi, my insurance finally covered Ozempic for my A1C. If your A1C was over 5.3, they should have covered automatically, right? Or do you need a second thing wrong to be able to cover it for your A1C? So, Karen, I wake up breathing, so it's a good day. That's a very positive way to look at things. Absolutely. Let's see. So NPR reporting Capitol riot does not happen without Trump, Jack Smith told Congress. January 6, 2001 riot at the U.S. Capitol does not happen without Donald Trump, former special counsel Jack Smith told lawmakers earlier this month in characterizing the Republican president as the most culpable and most responsible person in the criminal conspiracy to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Republican-led House Judiciary Committee released on Wednesday a transcript and video of closed-door interview Smith gave about 2 investigations of Trump. The document shows how Smith, during the course of the day-long deposition, repeatedly defended the basis for pursuing indictments against Trump and vigorously rejected Republican suggestions that his investigations were politically motivated. The evidence here made clear that President Trump was, by a large measure, the most culpable and most responsible person in his conspiracy. These crimes were committed for his benefit. The attack that happened at the Capitol, part of this case, does not happen without him. The other co-conspirators were doing this all for his benefit, Smith said, bristling at the question about whether his investigations were meant to prevent Trump from reclaiming the presidency in 2024. So in terms of why we would pursue a case against him, I entirely disagree with any characterization that our work was in any way meant to hamper him in the presidential election. The December 17th deposition was conducted privately despite Smith's request to testify publicly. The release of the transcript and video of the interview so far, Smith's only appearance at Capitol Hill since leaving a special counsel position, adds to the public understanding of the decision-making behind the 2 most consequential Justice Department investigations in recent history. Trump was indicted on charges of conspiring to undo the 2020 election. He lost to Democrat Joe Biden, and of willfully retaining classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. Of course, why the federal government, why the Department of Justice under Merrick Garland didn't also go after him for not only retaining classified documents, but showing classified documents at Bedminster is one of the things I will constantly and continuously be critical of Garland on for. And maybe Joe Biden should have taken a little bit more of, as it pertains to actions, as it pertained to what the Department of Justice did under him, because they absolutely should have not just gone after the Mar-a-Lago files. They should have gone after the files that he showed people in private who were not cleared to see classified files in Bedminster. So both cases were abandoned after Trump's 2024 election win, with Smith citing Justice Department policy against the indictment of a sitting president. Smith repeatedly made clear his belief that the evidence gathered against Trump was strong enough to sustain a conviction. Part of the strength of the January 6th case, Smith says, was the extent to which he relied on the testimony of Trump allies and supporters who cooperated with the investigation. We had an elector in Pennsylvania who was a former congressman who was going to be an elector for President Trump, who said that what they were trying to do was attempt to overthrow the government and illegal. Smith said, our case was built on, frankly, Republicans who put their allegiance to the country before the party. Accounts from Republicans willing to stand up against the falsehood that the election had been stolen, even though it could mean trouble for them, created what Smith described as the most powerful evidence against Trump. When it came to the Capitol riot itself, Smith said the evidence showed that Trump caused it and that he exploited it, and it was foreseeable to him. Asked whether there was evidence that Trump had instructed supporters to riot at the Capitol, Smith said that Trump, in the weeks leading to the insurrection, got people to believe fraud claims that weren't true. He made false statements to the legislatures, to the supporters in all sorts of contexts, and was aware in the days leading up to January 6th that his supporters were angry when he had invited them and directed them to the Capitol. And now once they were at the Capitol, once the attack on the Capitol happened, he refused to stop it. He instead issued a tweet that, without question in my mind, endangered the life of his own vice president. He added, and when the violence was going on, he had to be pushed repeatedly by his staff members to do anything to quell it, yada, yada, yada. So there we go. Jack Smith goes to Congress. Jack Smith tells them the truth. Hey, Atrocious at Every Game, good to see you. If we ever have another election, Jack Smith for AG, I'd love to see that. And the median voter said, we don't care. Exactly. Hey, good to see you, Atrocious at Every Game. And just for you and you alone,
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, that screams out play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
I was waiting for the dance, 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 dance. It hit right as soon as it ended. So Jolie says, I hate our society, so many cultures of multi-generational homes. Why do our kids leave? We need to say F you capitalism. We'll hoard our wealth by staying together. Good point. Leanna goes, Chad, feel free to outdo me. Besides my knee and the new season, he already said that. In East India culture, they say we never leave, we just take over. Next, Trump will name the Statue of Liberty the Trump statue. The Statue of Trumperty. See, sending you love and hope, Leanna says. Jolie says, on my way, I'll just buy a huge roll of it. We'll fix you right up. Nice. Trumpflation, Trump deficit, and Trump socialism for billionaires. Exactly. The conservatives love to privatize, to make loss public, and privatize profit. Thank you, Adrian New One, who followed me 45 minutes ago, and thank you for Oscar Alhas 21 for following me just now. Let's see, he should have gotten rid of Merrick Garland and replaced him with someone like Jack Smith. Fair point. See, are we ever going to find out what documents Trump was hoarding, even in general, non-specific terms? That's a good question. We should know. I wonder if there could be a public records request to find out which files he had, which files he still has, because he probably still has files at this point. See, Karen DPD, I have my husband that basically does everything for me, tells me no a lot for trying to do things for myself. And that can be frustrating as somebody who wants to look out for their spouse. I remember the first day that Cassie came home from the hospital, they told her that she should get somebody's help when it comes to going to the bathroom and stuff like that. And before she was insisted that I take the boys to one of her favorite Mardi Gras parades to catch her some throws, because that's a parade that throws decorated shoes. And so I was like, okay, but do you need any help before you go? Can we make sure we get everything for you? We get downtown, we get a parking spot, we set up in our low normal spot to watch the parade. And then what happens? She messaged me saying how she successfully got back and forth to the bathroom. And I was like, good, congratulations. Not wanting to argue with her, but I was like, privately, and I've told her this later, I was like, privately, I was just like, I can't believe she did that without any help, blah, 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 blah. But I was like, what could I do at that point? I was stuck at the parade until the parade was over at this point. So I'm like, all right, hopefully she'll continue to be safe while we're out. So, Karen, mind is willing, body isn't cooperating. And it actually gets worse for her in the cold. Like, as it gets colder, her body just like wants to shut down more and not want to walk around as well as it already is, which is not as great as it was prior to her getting her issues. So, which is one of the reasons why we can't move up north to be with family, because, well, she will just get worse because she needs the warm weather for her to be at least mildly comfortable. So, Fox News went on their shit because Joe went on vacation this weekend. He's a retired grandpa with cancer that's getting cancer treatments. Let the man have fucking vacation. Fucking atrocious. I mean, fucking Fox News. Let's see. Marriage is no longer enough to get a U.S. green card, says American immigration attorney, according to India Today. An American immigration attorney has recently warned that marriage to an American citizen was no longer a guarantee of getting a U.S. green card. For a green card, they will need to convince immigration officers that the marriage is genuine. Here's what Brad Bernstein is advising spouses aspiring for a permanent resident card. A permanent resident card, also known as a green card, is a highly coveted permit amongst immigrants in the U.S. It puts people on a path to American citizenship. Though green card holders are not equal to full-blown American citizens, they enjoy many of the same rights. One commonly used method to get a green card is to marry an American citizen. However, marriage to an American citizen no longer guarantees a green card, says an immigration attorney. According to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, a spouse of a U.S. citizen falls under the category of an immediate relative of a U.S. citizen, and under U.S. law, immediate relatives, including husbands and wives of American citizens, are eligible to apply for a green card. Brad Bernstein, an American immigration attorney, however, has warned that mere marriage is no longer a guarantor for green cards. Under the current administration, marriage-based green card applications are being examined more closely, with officials placing greater emphasis on whether a marriage is genuine rather than merely legal on paper. This is part of a heightened scrutiny on the green card program that saw the Trump administration suspend the diversity visa lottery, which offered up to 50,000 immigrants visa every year through random selection for people with low levels of immigration, countries with low levels of immigration in the United States. Being in a relationship does not get you a green card. Living together gets you a green card. Who, over the past 30 years of experience, is part of the legal team at law offices of Spar and Bernstein. Not just marriage. I wonder if he paid for this article to be written. Not just marriage, cohabitation is must for a green card. He cautioned that married couples who live separately are at immediate risk of having their applications rejected if spouses do not share a home, that their green card cases are already going down. In a Facebook video, he noted that marriage-based cases, immigration officers do not care why you live apart. They do not care if it's for work, school, money, or convenience. According to Bernstein, cohabitation is the key factor. U.S. officials said they only care whether or not you live as husband as wife. So if you're a traveling nurse and you have a green card, they're going to say F you and you can't get married. That's some BS. That's terrible. So Thank you, DPD. Is Blue post from Twitter? I don't know. What do you, Blue are what are you talking about with what Blue? Yeah, Melania Trump cough cough. Oh yeah, that was a very long rude cough. Exactly. I mean, they were already married, I guess, when in the first term when Trump was like, "Oh, I'm going to live in the White House," and Melania was like, "I'll live in New York. I live with Barron. I don't live with Donald." So, what fun. What else? Let's see. Trump finally tells the truth. Trump, 79, finally admits he's wearing compression socks and makeup to hide how sick he is. Donald Trump has confirmed that he wore compression socks to treat his cankles amid growing scrutiny over health as America's oldest president. In an explosive interview about his medical treatments, Trump also admitted that he applies makeup to his hands, saying that the large daily dose of aspirin he takes to thin his blood causes them to bruise easily. This is a paid article I can't read anymore. Oh well, so there's that. But there's also this article from Axios. Let's check out this one, which is on a similar. Trump says higher aspirin dosage behind bruised hand. President Trump provided an explanation for bruises on his hand that last year sparked rumors about his health during an interview with the Wall Street Journal. The 79-year-old president, who faces age-related health scrutiny, revealed that he has for years taken higher doses of aspirin for cardiac prevention, and this causes bruising. Trump told the Wall Street Journal his doctors would rather he took a lower dose than the 320 milligrams of aspirin he takes every day, but he's a little superstitious, so he won't reduce the amount. So he's superstitious, so he's not going to listen to his own doctors. And this is the person appointing to idiots like RFK Jr. to head the Health and Human Services. Trump says, they say aspirin is a good thing for thinning out blood, and I don't want thick blood pouring through my heart. I want to have the thinnest blood in the world so it matches my skin. He goes, I want nice thin blood pouring through my heart. I'll have the thinnest blood like no one's ever seen. Jesus Christ, how dumb can you be? Like, he thinks that if your blood is not thin, then it's thick. Like just your blood thinning doesn't mean it's already thick. Like, what's your fucking problem, dude? Like, I guess you understand, simple-minded people be like, oh, the opposite of thin is thick, and they live in a binary world where it's either yes or no, false or true, bad or good, thin or thick. But, there's, blood, if the blood is normal, it's not too thick. Generally speaking, he wants thinner blood, but it's just ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Of note, the president recalled how the Attorney General Pam Bondi inadvertently caused his hand to bleed after her ring caught his hand as they high-fived at the Republican National Convention. He now wears makeup on his hands if he's whacked again by somebody. I disbelieve some of that. I believe that, I'm sure. To me, it feels like some of what's going on with his, is that could be a place where they're putting in the IV and he doesn't want people to see the IV scarring or whatever. So Karen Ames goes, so he can have brain bleed from all that aspirin. So, yeah, Church did every game. You and Orvillaby are on Twitch and everybody else is on YouTube. So, let's see, hold on. We're about flooders from my mom's side. Supposed to get 8 days of rain in California. Yeah, ICE doesn't care about green card citizenship. They grab and stash and deport, and they do it with everybody. They don't give a crap. They have a citizen from Maryland who's currently in a Louisiana detention facility, and they're denying her the ability to prove that she's a citizen. They're claiming that her birth certificate and passports are fakes. Yeah, so they don't give a crap about legality whatsoever. And here's something else. A lot of the things what's going on with these. The case about the LSU nursing student who was supposed to be getting a job but instead was deported to Honduras. In that particular case, you have a lot of MAGA bots who are going on all these news station Facebook posts and basically saying, why didn't she apply for citizenship? So for all of you, as a public service announcement from Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right, to all the conservatives who might be asking, why didn't this individual apply for a citizenship. Here's how it works. She was going through the asylum process. They brought her here as a kid. Her parents brought her here as a kid, and she was still in the process of going through an asylum claim, and it had not been finished. Had she been approved for asylum, she would have then had to wait 1 year, just 1 year, before getting a application to be a permanent resident alien. So you could be a legal permanent resident here in this country after 1 year of getting asylum. And then 4 years after that, as 4 years of being a legal permanent resident, she could have then applied for citizenship. Now, of course, that wouldn't have stopped the Trump administration from then, pulling her out of line and deporting her, because that's what they did with people currently waiting to get sworn in, because people doing things the right and legal way, as a lot of these conservatives want them to do, they don't give a crap about that, because it's never about legality. It's always been about their bigotry. But to all of the conservatives who don't understand why this individual didn't apply for citizenship, it's because she couldn't, because she was going through the asylum place. Again, after asylum was granted, 1 year to get to be a permanent resident, a legal permanent resident, and then 4 years later to apply for citizenship. That's the way it has to go. This administration decided for cruelty instead, and decided to take somebody who is not one of the bad hombres, who is not one of the worst of the worst, and force her to leave the country because they decided to change her asylum claim, when there was no good reason to deny her asylum claim or make any changes to it. But that's because this administration is based on bigotry, on xenophobia, on hatred, and on cruelty. It's as simple as that. Karen, I want to see ICE get prosecuted. I want to see individuals who made terrible decisions and who have acted illegally and who have violated the civil rights of individuals. I would like to see all of them prosecuted. I would also like to see the entirety of ICE disbanded, because that's what you have to do. You have to completely disband ICE 100%, and then either replace it with another agency with brand new people who are committed to actually doing the job correctly, or just fold it into another agency, but you still then have to make sure that the people running it have no relation to the previous administration of ICE, because the current way that ICE is being run is, again, morally abhorrent, it's horrible, it's terrible, etc. Hey, Jolie, over on Twitch as well. So, let's see. What else in the chat? Rick Larson, let him take as much aspirin as he wants. Also have another Big Mac, Donnie. I'm surprised I'm surprised that, I saw Jeff's name. I'm surprised Trump didn't say, like, I'm going to take more aspirin because my doctors are telling me to take less. Jeff, fuck him, I take aspirin, blood thinners too, and other heart meds. My hands look normal. You're also not 80, right, Jeff? You're not that old. So he's got very thin skin, as well as having very thin blood, as well as having a very thin blood-brain barrier, as well as having a very thin soul, if he has any of that at all. So DOJ just dropped charges against the ICE guy who killed... Oh, Jesus Christ. I think we did talk about that case before. DOJ drops charges, ICE... Department of Justice recently dropped federal charges against Miramar Martinez in Chicago, who was shot by customs after... Wait, hold on. In 2025, Miramar Martinez was shot multiple times by CBP agent Charles Exum after a vehicle encounter, with federal charges filed accusing her of ramming his car. The DOJ action moved to dismiss charges against Martinez and co-defendant in November 2025 after the defense attorneys presented evidence showing Exum's vehicle was moved and he'd sent texts bragging about the shooting. Key evidence, body camera footage, showed Exum rammed Martinez's car first, contradicting initial reports. So this is saying that they're dropping the charges against the woman who was shot, not against the person who did the shooting. So... unless this is somebody else. I'm not seeing that at the moment. This is from 2013. So thank you, Jolie, for being a liberal Danimal for 24 whole months now. Thank you so much. Steve, very, very soft skin. I don't know how... That skin doesn't look soft. That skin looks very rough. That one pregnant lady who was dragged on by ICE lost her baby. Ugh, that's a damn shame. Now, she should sue ICE. She should absolutely sue ICE for that. Because... And if she sues the person who did it, this administration would be in a very tough pickle. Because what do you do if the ICE agent caused her to lose her baby? Aren't y'all pro-life? Don't y'all, you know, hate when pregnancies are terminated early, right? So you should want to punish an individual who took actions that caused a person who was pregnant to lose her child. Simple as that. But guess what? They're not, you know, I guarantee you that they're not going to do that. I guarantee you that they're not going to want to, they're not going to, you know, go allow charges to be filed or go after one of their own, and they're voraciously or whatever. It's easy for me to say. They'll go after and protecting him because it was an action by ICE, and try and find some way to blame her for it instead of blaming him for his terrible actions. But again, hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite, and they'll stop people from getting necessary abortions, but they won't stop ICE agents from, you know, harming pregnant women and causing them to be killed. So, Kilmar Abrego Garcia might get his case dismissed and be able to sue for vindictive prosecution. I'd love to see that. DPD, I want for Democrats to grow a pair and introduce bills of impeachment. This must be a requirement if you want our votes, no fucking exceptions, even if it doesn't go anywhere, it's something. Absolutely. If I was able to get the 750 signatures that I would need to get on the ballot for Congress and run for Congress, and if I was somehow magically able to win the 2nd congressional district race, I would absolutely guarantee that I would file and sign any articles of impeachment that were filed against Donald John Trump for all of the crimes that he committed in office. So Jolie goes, my 2-year badge looks suspiciously like a 6-month badge. They're mildly different, I think, unless it hasn't updated. I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to go back through them and verify that I made all the changes that I wanted to make as well. So, but I did expand all the changes for up to 10 years of badges. So I don't know why that one doesn't have a background. I thought the new ones were supposed to have backgrounds. Oh, Dan said, person who is a pregnant and a Kasparian is probably going to side with ICE agent now. Exactly. Well, I said that purposely simply because of the fact that somebody else in my comment section on one of my videos that I made, one of the short videos that I have gotten uploaded, one of the person was complaining that I used, so like, how many virtue points do you get if you say pregnant person? I'm like, I don't know. How many MAGA points do you get for being triggered for when somebody tries to be inclusive of more people? Because while many of the people who are pregnant are women, there are women who can't get pregnant, and there are also people who are non-binary and who are also trans men who do get pregnant as well. And oh no, shame on me for wanting to be inclusive of everybody. So there you go. Totally can't wait to get the new badge. 8 years to go. Yes, man, 8 years to go, and I'll be 57 years old at that. No, 58. No, 59 years old. No, wait, 57. That's right. 57 years old. Jesus Christ. You thought my knees hurt already. Now, what was it? They had one of the previews that they showed before the Stranger Things movie. I'm not spoiling anything about Stranger Things with the finale, but one of the things that they showed beforehand was a trailer for The Lord of the Rings, because it's the 25th anniversary of The Lord of the Rings. And I looked at Henry and I was like, man, that just made my knees hurt even more. And the guy next to him just started cracking up. So, let's see. I'm probably not opening the phone lines today anyway, so I don't know how long I'm going to last. I am going to try and last as long as this red bar is, because I'm not going to... Leanna Geyer has basically paid for enough time for me to stay on the live, at least until this red bar showing her contribution has gone away. So that's a good way to keep me on the air. Keep me on the air by keep putting up super chats. especially big ones, big, largest ones, the biggest super chat you've ever seen. So I do think Leanna did that one once before, and I'm appreciative of that as well. So thank you so much. I would have pared way down to how many MAGA points do you get for being a bitch? I mean, I was tempted to say that too, but I wanted to be a little bit more verbose, which I know is not necessarily, you know, guaranteed to be understood by many of the MAGA folks, but still, I do like to be a little verbose sometimes. Shocking, I know y'all are surprised by that. So, Karen, I've never seen Stranger Things, or I have seen some strange things by people, you know, but Stranger Things is actually pretty good. Like, Henry started watching it, so I was like, well, I guess it should be, I should watch it too, just in case. And there was enough nerdy stuff in there or whatever for me to, you know, enjoy watching it, and enough 80s nostalgia as well. And then, of course, the hill, that I don't remember being big at all. The running up the hill wasn't, I don't remember that being big when I was a kid in the 80s, yet that became a huge hit now from the 80s. So, Leanna, you're still a pup. I guess. It's all relative, I suppose. I mean, granted, 50-year-olds this year, because I'll be 50 this year, and I want to be able to get on a, hopefully I'll be able to gather enough money to be able to celebrate our 50th birthday this year, both mine and my wife's 50th birthdays, and then hopefully next year we'll have enough money to be able to, be able to put together, to be able to figure out how we're going to celebrate our anniversary, our 20th anniversary, although technically I'm thinking that we should make more of a big deal for the 21st anniversary, since we got married on 7/7/7, so 3 7s would be 21, so we should celebrate the 21st anniversary more bigly than we should celebrate the 20th, but we'll probably do both. Who knows? So, I was also listening to Diane. She's playing with Billy Gaffney and John Deff. I had an interesting thing. I was in the Ojeda chat, and then I saw that somebody had said hello to Benny Loco, and I couldn't tag Benny Loco in the comment saying, "Hey, Benny Loco." So I'm wondering if Benny has me blocked. I don't know. That was kind of weird. If you have Prime, watch Code 3 with Rainn Wilson. It's quite good. I'll have to check that out. DM me that, and I'll check it out. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can also subscribe to my Twitch channel for free. All you have to do is hook up your Amazon Prime account with the Twitch gaming account, and you'll be able to absolutely do that for free. Let me see if I can do that for myself at the moment. That's the wrong thing. I brought up the wrong app. Let's see if I can get that done. I don't know if my subscription has run out yet on my other one. Come on. Nope, I still just have the message to gift subs. I don't have the I don't have the option to subscribe yet. So therefore, I won't be doing my resubscribing with Nerdy Dan to Liberal Dan yet. So remember, Dan, 50 is a new 30, and 777 is my favorite. 7777 is your favorite number, or 777 is your favorite number? Big Hook 1777. Well, that's a good number at the end of Big Hook's one, right? So, atrocious every game. I could never tell if Trump was saying Big Lee or Big League. You and I both. I've made that comment several times on the show before. I even made it the other day privately, where yeah, absolutely. I don't know if he's trying to say Big League or Big League, because to me, it's Big League. Saying something is Big League maybe makes a little bit more sense, but it doesn't sound fully like he's saying Big League. It sounds like he's saying Big Lee. What probably is happening, and this is probably the best bet that you might have as to what he's saying. He probably heard other people say that something is like Big League, but he probably heard it as Big Lee. So he's probably saying Big Lee in the way that other people would say Big League, but he's really saying Big Lee and not Big League, if that makes sense. So, Ileana, well, of course we celebrate every anniversary, but like usually people make a big deal about the big ones, like the round number ones. But you know, because it's 777, I think 21 makes more sense than 20. But again, both. So, let's see. What else are we going to talk about? Oh, this is also on the Hill. I want nice thin blood. No one has thinner blood than me. No one has thinner skin than me either. So, of course, all the negative news from today. One of the things going on is the fact that health subsidies expire, with millions of Americans will be going into 2026 with insurance hikes. Enhanced tax credits that have helped reduce the cost of insurance for the vast majority of ACA enrollees expired overnight, cementing higher health costs for millions of Americans. Democrats forced a 43-day government shutdown over the issue. Moderate Republicans called for a solution. President Trump floated a way out after conservative backlash. In the end, no one's effort were enough to save the subsidies before their expiration date. A House vote expected in January could offer another chance, but success is far from guaranteed. The expired subsidies were first given to the ACA enrollees in 2021 as a temporary measure to help Americans get through the pandemic. Democrats in power at the time extended them, moving the expiration date to the start of 2026. With the expanded subsidies, some lower-income enrollees received health care with no premiums, and higher earners paid no more than 8.5% of their income. Eligibility for middle-class earners was also expanded. On average, more than 20 million subsidized enrollees in the Affordable Care Act program are seeing their premium costs rise by 114% in 2026. Those surging prices come alongside an overall increase in health costs in the United States, which is further driving out-of-pocket costs in many cases. Some enrollees, like Salt Lake City freelance filmmaker and adjunct professor Stan Clausen, have absorbed the extra expense. Clausen said he was paying just under $350 a month for his premiums last year, a number that will jump to nearly $500 a month this year. It's a strain for the 49-year-old, but one who's willing to take on because he needs health insurance. Others, like Provost, are dealing with steeper hikes. The workers' monthly premium payment is increasing from $85 a month to nearly $750. So there's that. So I'm not on an exchange plan. My work plan has gone up about $200 a month, which sucks. So not that high amount that the other person's dealing with. But my issue is I'm going to be dealing with is I'm need to wait and see how much my payments are going to go up for the save plan going away and being, went away, because I was only paying $50 a month, or just under $50 a month on my student loan payments. Now, who knows what the hell I'm going to pay? Who knows once Save goes away what the hell my monthly payment is going to be? I'm going to be so hosed, and it's going to be miserable. So, I'm not looking forward to that. I'm sure there'll be a gigantic fat man rant where I complain about what's going on with that. So we need to find a way to take away Congress's health care and income if they don't work. There's as to what Congress is doing when they're not working. When they go back to their districts, they're still supposed to be working. They're just supposed to be working by meeting with constituents and not taking a vacation. But typically more when they go on, when they leave DC, they're probably more likely being wined and dined by special interests instead of going to see their constituents. So, people with chronic illness are seeing a triple. 114% is average. That's terrible. And of course, what's my deductible? Of course, the deductible on the ACA stuff can be terrible. And of course, my deductible is not as bad as perhaps the bronze plan on the ACA because I'm not on a bronze plan. So, DPD will have to scoot everyone. I have an early doctor's appointment. Love all. Peace out. Have a good one, DPD. Have a great one. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Uber again, possibility? Probably not, because if I do Uber, my car insurance is going to go up even more as well, and I don't want to. My van's kind of out of it at this point. I have to get it jumped and see if I need any other work done on it in order for me to see how it works, or if it does, if it is going to work. But I don't think Ubering is a possibility at this point. It's just I don't see how you make money without riding a luxury vehicle. Maybe in Vegas it's fine, but in New Orleans, it's hit or miss. Vegas is, to me, I don't know if there's an off season in Vegas. Maybe this summer, I don't know. During Mardi Gras, maybe it might be a good idea, but again, I can't do it if I'm with my own insurance. Otherwise, it's going to cause my own insurance to go up much more, and I really don't want to deal with that. So, Karen Ames, our Representative Hines, when he's back in California, we hope to vote him out with our great Democratic candidate. I hope so too. I hope you're able to as well. So yes, let's see what else is going on with the big news. Mamdani was was inaugurated today as mayor, and we're waiting here in Louisiana, in New Orleans, for Helena Moreno, who used to be a news reporter, who then became a city council person, was the head of the council, and now is going to be our next mayor. She's the mayor-elect, and our outgoing mayor is being as shitty as she possibly can be, because she's apparently wanting to try and set up as many of her cronies with city contracts as she goes out the door. And the council basically put a moratorium on new city contracts that was passed unanimously, and then the mayor vetoed that ordinance, so the council is now going to have to override the veto, and to make sure that the outgoing mayor can't sign any new contracts, despite the fact that we have a $200 or $250 million shortfall. Now look, I voted for Cantrell, the current mayor, both times when she ran. Each time it was less because, I mean, the first time I had a lot of people saying a lot of good things about her and her being progressive on issues like LGBTQA rights and stuff like that. So I was more inclined to vote for her than some of the other people that were running. The next time around, she literally was of the top three candidates, she was the least worst of the three, and if anybody could have given me any reason to vote for any of those ones, but again, it was a case where, unlike most open primaries where you can vote for your favorite candidate up front and then vote for the least best that comes out, when you had the possibility of three candidates with one being a clear not as bad as the other two, you have to make sure that that one makes the runoff. So anyway. Thank you, Jolie, for all this stuff about helping Liberal Dan Radio talk from the left. That's right. Appreciate you. Yes, go buy the Man of La Manga shirt. That would be fun to see more people wearing that. I would love to see pictures of y'all wearing your Liberal Dan Radio shirts, be it an FDT, be it an FDT, be it Al Gore Needs More Rhythm shirt, or be it a Man of La Manga shirt. Big Hook Canadians are not visiting Vegas, and they estimate billions in lost tourism. The current lieutenant governor of Louisiana, who's a Republican, was basically complaining that we've lost tourism from Canada as well, and that has also had a cost on New Orleans not collecting as much funds as they could collect, simply because of the fact that they don't want to come to America because of Donald Trump and his 51st state BS and his anti-immigrant BS and all the other fun stuff that Donald Trump has done. And I use fun clearly, obviously, as in a sarcastic way. See what else? What's going on in New Orleans? Atrocious of the game. Wow, sounds like a policy blunder. Imagine if Biden had caused that. Well, if you insist.
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, that screen fell play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
And we have 5 days left till the start of the carnival season, i.e. 12th night is January 6th, which is the first day, if you're a New Orleanian, that you're supposed to be eating king cake. Not any earlier. You have to eat it that day. You can't eat them any earlier. Otherwise, you're going to cause bad luck. We blamed the COVID pandemic, or at least any spread that happened in New Orleans, is because of people who ate king cake too early. Because one of the larger, at least initial spreader events that took place was probably Mardi Gras in 2020. Because at the time, there were only 13 known cases, but at the time, many people had it without being known that they got it. So, which is the problem, because I'm sure I had it at the end of January and of 2020, and the doctors who tested me was like, well, you don't have the flu, so it's some other viral infection. But they didn't say it was COVID, but it was probably COVID. Jolie, I want a simple Liberal Dan Radio shirt with your logo on it and a QR code on the back that links to your channel. Done. We will get that happening, Jolie. Don't you worry. We will get that happening for you. I will get that made ASAP. So you want to click? I'll have it connect right to the YouTube channel. Well, I should have it collect not just to the YouTube channel, but to the subscribe button. So you click on it and it automatically subscribes to you, or at least asks you if you want to subscribe. So, wait, What Jeff Curry, when did you sneaker? Jeff's been here forever. I've mentioned Jeff saying something before. Leanna says, my son recently moved to the Vegas area. He works private security, and it's a huge clusterfuck. Not surprised. Canada needs to boycott everything about the U.S., probably. Karen, I haven't been to Vegas since 2008, and it's only 2.5 hours away from me. Yeah, I've only been to Vegas once, and I was there in maybe 2010, 2011-ish. I don't know. I was at I think I was at the Hilton where the Tigers were there or whatever. The whatchamacallit Tigers from those whatchamacallit. I can't remember the name of the people off the top of my head. Siegfried and Roy. And when I was watching, and some tiger went over and peed on one of the guests, and I was like, that's hilarious. So I knew not to get that close to a tiger in the cage with at least not letting their back towards me. So why is it No Joke January? Yeah, I don't know why it would be No Joke January. Well, I won't survive No Joke January because I like to make jokes, especially lots of dad jokes, because dad jokes are rad jokes. Let's see, what else are we going to talk about today? Let's see, is this the same article from before, or is this a different article? This is more about the freezing of child care funds. Trump administration says it's freezing all child care funds to all this one is now saying all states, not just Minnesota. The Trump administration has said it's freezing child care funds to all states until they provide more verification and administrative data about the programs in a move fueled by a series of fraud schemes at a Minnesota daycare centers. And see, this is NPR or PBS that's saying this, but PBS is saying this, but why are they saying fraud schemes alleged to have taken place at Minnesota daycare centers? And why is the fact that they're Somali residents relevant to the conversation? But it says all 50 states will be impacted by the review, but the Republican administration is focusing most of its ire on the blue state of Minnesota. Minnesota Democratic Attorney General Keith Ellison said in a statement Wednesday that he was exploring all legal options to ensure that critical child care services do not get abruptly slashed based on pretext and grandstanding. Minnesota will face additional hurdles to restart child care funding by needing to provide even more verification for child care centers in the state that are suspected of fraud. Administration is also calling for an audit of some Minnesota daycare centers after a series of fraud schemes. Now, look, if you're going to do an audit for child care centers that are problematic, by all means do the audit, but don't freeze the funds for the other people who don't seem problematic. And I'm sure what they're going to do is they're going to target all the ones that are run by Somali folks and not target the other ones because this is administration filled with bigots, racists, xenophobes, etc. It is unclear how much more robust the verification process for states will be than it was before the new measures were implemented. Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Services Jim O'Neill called it a response to blatant fraud that appears to be rampant in Minnesota and across the country. More verification needed for all states to get child care funds. All 50 states will have to provide additional levels of verification and administrative data before they receive more funding from Child Care and Development Fund, according to a U.S. Department of Health and Human Services spokesperson. However, before Minnesota can receive child care funds again, it will have to provide even more verification for child care centers in the state that are suspected of fraud, such as attendance and licensing records. In his post on Tuesday, O'Neill called for payments will be required justification receipt of photo evidence before money is sent, but HHS spokesperson said Wednesday additional verifications only apply to CCDF payments. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz again says it's part of Trump's long game. We tackled that quote already, but the other article that said that it was only targeting Minnesota ones, this article is saying that they are targeting ones all across the country, even though the attention is focused on Minnesota, that every state is going to have to provide more audit data. So again, harming more people, more children, more families, just because they're bigots. And some people have committed fraud, so they're going to punish all people because of the some people committing fraud. They're literally throwing the baby out with the bathwater, or maybe the babies out with the bathwater. I don't know. And this blue states will probably sue Trump over the funding, but still, in the short term, it's going to harm families how many of these daycare centers are going to close because the funding dried up and they can't stay open until the funding resumes, and so maybe these places will have to shut down shop. and not be able to provide services to kids, which means more parents will have financial difficulties because they won't be able to have their kids be watched, so then they have to stay at home, so they can't take any more of their jobs, or they have to work alternate jobs which will harm their family lives. It'll just have a avalanching effect. It'll just spiral out of control, and it'll cause more and more people to be in more economic harm. Most specifically, the people with the lowest incomes in our country that require these funds. That's what this administration is focused and hell bent on doing. They want to make it harder for you to get child care just because a few people were committing fraud. They want to make it harder for you to get health insurance so more people get sick and more people die. They want to make it harder for you to repay your student loan payments so then they can start garnishing your wages and taking more money off the backs of the working class instead of taking money off the backs of the billionaires who are profiting at the expense of the people in the working class. And you question why I move more and more to the left as I get older? It's because I have eyes and ears and a working brain that pays attention to everything that's going on, to understand that all of these fiscal policies are just going to cause more harm and more pain to the working class of society and are only here to benefit the billionaire, the ownership class. And if you can't see why that's a problem, then you're not standing in solidarity with the workers. Simple as that. Power to the people. Screw this administration. Screw the ultra wealthy. Screw the people who are trying to harm the poor instead of actually trying to make things better for everybody in this country. So, wow, that sounds like a policy blunder. Imagine if Biden caused that.
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, the screen fell play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
See, I would love for that to just chart on Spotify. Like that would be like a project for all of y'all. Like, everyone go get the link from Spotify. Get the Had Biden Done It. Just share that link everywhere. Say, let's make this. If you're on the left, if you're a liberal, if you're progressive, if you disagree with the Trump agenda and the hypocrisy of the Trump agenda and the MAGA folks, you should share this song far and wide and listen to it constantly to get it to chart on Spotify's top 10 or whatever. That should be a goal for every single one of y'all. Yeah, cruelty is always the point. Yep, exactly. And again, it's another time, because the more we pick on Trump for this, the less we can pick on him for the Epstein files, or at least that's what he thinks. Well, we here at Liberal Dan Radio talk from left as right, both the viewers and the host. We are able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We are able to handle multiple things. We are able to remember how Donald Trump is cruel towards immigrants, is cruel towards the working class, is cruel towards people repaying student loans, is cruel towards people who need health insurance, which should be everybody, but again, it's the lowest income wage earners who are going to suffer. Maybe not even the lowest ones, because there are people on Medicaid who will still be on Medicaid, but it's going to be the working class types who are in that lower middle class area who are going to be suffering the most because of these changes. We can pay attention to every single one of those, and remember to point out how much Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, how he said horrible things about him being generally a rapey person, and how he's just the worst president in the history of this country. And we will continue to add that more and more and more. Again, yes, they're also trying to kill off Head Start and Early Head Start. Is that from the same funding source? I'll have to check out to see if it's the same. I mean, it's probably similar. I think Head Start funds might be a different line item than those type of funds, but we can look into that for the next show. But I'm starting to get very, very thirsty because I've ran out of water a half an hour, 45 minutes ago. And, well, Leanna's super chat went out. So just like the candle went out, so we're going to go ahead and call it an end for this night's show. Again, Happy New Year for everybody. We will, unless something huge happens again, so that necessitates us having a special show, we will be back here live Monday, 8 p.m. Central on liberaldanradio.com and twitch.liberaldanradio.com. Look forward to seeing everybody. I hope y'all have a great rest of your weekend and a happy start to your new year. And peace.
Gather round, everyone, and I'll tell you a tale about an orange-faced buffoon who should be in a jail. When people say he's done something that goes beyond the pale, he will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. But don't believe that story, it's really just a shill. He just did not want to see them wild golfing on Scottish hills. A hoax, he said it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or witness milky strokes, changing a storm path with black marker strokes, confronted with the truth to say it's all a hoax. Casting mail-in ballots is something that he's done. Now he wants to ban them for each and every one. He claims it's for integrity in each election, but he won't believe the results unless it's him that's won. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with Miss Smoky shrugs, they'll fool you with distractions like real sugar in Cokes. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. He promised to release all the Epstein files that caused all the MAGA base to react with smiles. But how long has he put it off? It sure has been a while, and now he's calling this a hoax, protecting pedophiles. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or witness milky strokes, he'll keep on gaslighting up until he crooks. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax.
Trump piled debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, they'd scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Go through crises, storms, and more. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hire his kids to run DC. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, the numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, Fox News would say I vague. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Love Kim Jong-un, he wrote love letters that take the guns first, lose those rights forever. Signed you spending bills with glee. Had Joe done that, it'd be tyranny. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, they child up today. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Kept secret files, countless untold. Said Putin's word was good as gold. Invited the Taliban to come to U.S. soil. If Joe had done that, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd want him to pay. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Double standards loud and clear. Rules for Trump, but not for peers. What they call treason, if Joe's the name, is patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd shout no way. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
and bushes, pictures got hidden, obscuring the past, history rewritten, hung in a hallway where no tour can see, confirming his unending fragility. If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, he must not exist. Stop the testing was the line that he said. Hundreds of thousands needlessly dead. Now HHS is run by brainworm quack, hiding the truth behind his back. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, an administration run by narcissists. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Of documents stacked floor to the wall, top secret folders in a bathroom stall. Charges were pressed but the case was dropped, a corrupt judicial system he can co-opt. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. He'll swear it's fake news, a liberal twist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Encampments downtown, tents lining the street. Invisible people that power won't beat. Hide them away so the cameras can't find the proof of a system that's cold and unkind. Of chaos in secret, an NDA sign, an illegal bribe. Michael Cohen fine. Trump got fined too over his gag order, but she didn't gag cause he was much shorter. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. We can't let him win, we must resist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist.
Yeah, next on Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. It's the Bustin' extended version by Deminox, the first Liberal Dan Radio patron. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
This just in. A sudden spike in logic levels across the city. Citizens report seeing a man with glasses and a podcast mic. We go now live to Liberal Dan.
Who you gonna call when Nazi writings on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, cause you know we got a plan. The right wing talking shit, but he ain't about to quit. He'll take his proton pack and zap your logic cause it's whack. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall.
It's being reported that Liberal Dan is setting up what appears to be some sort of straw man containment field.
Calling out your lies with his Michael vaporize. Cross the streams in your dreams, bitch, you know that he's too wise. You're like Slimer talking crap, but you walked into his trap. Yo, it's more than entertainment, it's misinformation containment. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall. The Statue Liberty, the writing you can see. So bring the huddled masses, it's a war of the classes. While Trump may think he's Vigo, Dan can cut through that ego. He's got the facts to prove him wrong, got that logic like Egon. Your logic is a ghost, cause you know this chick is toast. When you follow MTG, it's conspiracy, you'll see. There's no need to taser, he's got wit like Occam's razor. Liberal Dan cuts those lies with his Jewish space laser.
It's unbelievable. Liberal Dan just used the literal dog whistle to lure a large group of internet trolls into what is being called a self-collapsing rhetoric singularity. In all my years of reporting, I've never seen anything like this.
So don't call to be a heckler, you ain't no Judge Rexler. He'll bust you like Scolery, cause your logic's looking hairy. Right-wing callers think they're cool, but they sounding just like Zool. You the dog, he the man, and yo, his name is Liberal Dan. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall. Liberal Dan, Liberal Dan, Liberal Dan.
coded in the laws. Ink still bleeds, treating women like soil, just planting seeds. She's gone, brain dead, not even awake, but the state's got a claim, gonna plant its stake. Say it's God's will, say it's life they protect, but they ain't the ones feeling pain or neglect. From Texas to Georgia, they set the trap. Rights roll back while they smile and clap. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. This ain't pro-life, it's control and shame. They don't care if she's gone, just playing a game. Keep her hooked to machines, cold and still, just a vessel to them, not a human with will. No consent, no voice, no chance to resist. Just laws in place, written with a clenched fist. Hospitals scared, judges playing God. Bodies ain't temples, just state-owned pods. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Bands in the dark, they don't care who it kills. Sacking courts while they strip out all of your wills. But we'll fight back, march loud, burn bright, cause this ain't the end, it's the start of the fight. Gilead's here, ain't no grace, and those leopards are coming to eat your face. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator.
The creative director at WGSO had a little something he thought you should know. When Dan picked on his bits, Steve got real gruff. So Steve called Dan a flake, called him liberal dandruff. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest. Steve's about to find out his mistake. In this feud, Dan's Kendrick, Steve is Drake. Dan might not be the world's best singer, but he's got more talent in his little finger. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest.